Tropical sides, a nice briny blue sky, and the taste of war in the air. That means it's time for part 6 of Gears 5's DLC Hivebusters.
Actually, sir, I smell more. I smell more some kind of fuel-y smell.
No, Doris, remember, you have to say it in an over-the-top Scottish accent.
Then. Aye, Jova. I know what you mean, man. I know what you mean, man. I mean, look at that over there. It looks
that's your drippy voice.
Yeah, that's more like a Welsh thing.
More Welsh.
Yes.
Whatever. I'm a Scottish Welsh person.
Scottish.
Fair enough. Well, you know what? It reminds me of how Morrigan in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 was voiced by a Welsh woman.
Even though she's supposed to be Scottish.
We've just gone for like the Celtic accent.
I think
I should have made Shiroi Morgan for the thumbnail.
I think I figured it out, guys.
What?
I'm better at different voices than I am different accents.
I think you would really like Dweb's Mimir from the new God of War. They make really good use of his British accent. How about the confines of anywhere bloody else?
And mind you, that's I forgot the name. I'll check in the meantime. That's the same voice actor of Senator Armstrong from Metal Gear Rising.
That's always a good thing in my ears too.
Alistair Duncan. There you go.
Anyway, we found the new beast, guys. It's a killer bird.
Yes, this will be our final boss. Yes.
Okay, that is legitimately neat as a new design, but two things. One, a trip that I found in the meantime. Apparently the person responsible for the art direction of these both the vanilla and these DLC, which also worked for Gears 4 for visual effects, apparently is credited for only over 2 games, as including the additional art department, which are The Simpsons PS2 games, Hit and Run and Road Rage.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Arian Handback. I don't know.
Hey, those games are good.
Wait. Sorry. In what role?
Visual department or art department.
Okay.
Yeah. But
from The Simpsons.
I don't know. But hold on, I'll wait for the cutscenes and for the.
She's packing heat.
She's packing.
And it's packing heat.
Oh no, she's killing the Monster Hunter monster.
It really looks like a Monster Hunter, boss.
All right, if I remember correctly, now it was we were gonna get that scene that I was waiting for.
Looks like we're all in the dark on this.
Oh snap!
Yeah, we need to talk.
Yeah. Like Hawk, we thought we were going after locusts, not giant murder chickens.
I didn't know this was gonna cross promotion with Capcom.
Alright. Spit it up, Hoffman.
The First Minister rejected my plan to deal with the swarm. She said her damn robots could handle it.
Of course.
So I used my forced retirement to launch a mission of my own.
All this time, we were on a goddamn rogue operation?
Yep.
That's right. Look, I know your past. That you've all suffered and struggled.
So basically, this is kind of like the Sarah's version of the A-Team.
That's why we're here.
I guess.
Duh. I mean, the guy does look a bit like an older Mr. T, so...
They work in the military, they have a sort of a criminal past.
Hold on, too.
They work on... Oh.
The swarm took my son.
Damn.
Dragged him, screaming, into the dark. I failed to protect him. To fight for him.
That's some heavy stuff there.
I joined up to make these fuckers pay. And I planned to die.
Okay, Doc Holliday.
But here we are. So, to hell with it. I'll live. And I'll fight for what family I have
Damn
left.
straight.
See, guys, this team is about family.
Honestly, okay.
Where's the
if we're-
Fast and Furious crossover?
Anyway, for as corny as this is, I legit get this. And again, considering that they're working with what they can do in the confines of DLC, I'm fine with this. Like, it explores their motivations and does have them resolving to actually do better with it here and there. Whereas with, like, you know, the mainline Gears 5 stuff, what exactly are the main motivations other than just, oh, we need to stop the Locust again? Not really much outside of it.
Also, we could have easily just ended DLC here, mind you.
Sorry.
But no, I can see a bit where Pedro is coming from in the idea that max characterization kinda flips a bit in the middle of the DLC. I do believe there is some kind of transition, but it's done mostly through the banter. But it's more of a like turn and you miss moment kind of thing.
That's my issue.
Like
yes.
Sorry, go ahead. It's like I said. It does feel like they did have to squander it down a bit to work within the confines of what the DLC was allowing for budget-wise. So I do think that may have paid a mind to it. Like I said, it's not perfect, but my God, again, it feels like we know more about these characters than we do the main cast of Gears 4 and 5, just from this DLC alone.
Sure.
Again.
Sorry, finish.
And look, don't get me wrong, I do get why Mac's whole thing can come up as last-minute stuff, but I honestly do think that it is much, much better than what we've been getting beforehand. The original trilogy not included, obviously. That stuff's still the top.
Obviously.
Make a lantern, I guess.
Very good, too.
And walk amongst the ancestors. The path of our people will reveal your burden.
Hey.
Ooh. So this Wakaatu guy, is he also sort of a locust created by emotion, or is he something different?
An autochthonous species, Sarah?
Okay, maybe they did mention it, but I missed it. I didn't catch it when I was playing it, no. Hold on, she's still talking about the lore.
It's none of my business,
But
it's okay. We're SWAT now. You both should
know.
That's neat.
I fucked up. Deliberately ignored an order. Thought I knew better than everyone else, and someone got killed.
I don't know. It's okay, Lani. Apparently, it's a common thing to do here in the cogs.
Although, unlike with Marcus, it sounds like this one absolutely got somebody killed who would have otherwise survived if she hadn't acted out of turn. Like, maybe that happened with Marcus, but from what I recall, it's never stated that his troops died on his watch.
No, what happened with Marcus is that he disobeyed orders specifically so he could try and save his father from being kidnapped by the Locust, but even then he still failed. That was the whole...
there you go, the Wakaatu. Yes, it's an autochthonous species of Sarah. That's also why this worm was, being repelled by it.
Hey, look at that! Another species that could be a danger aside from the Locust, Pedro.
I just wish we had more of a focus on this.
Got focus on the Locust.
I just wish we had more of a focus on this, Jova. Yes, this is a good step. Also, I swear I said when it was right there on the game environment, it looked like a penis. It looked like a penis. Yes.
It does. It doesn't help that it's placed at that guy's.
It actually looks like one of the Guardians of Ola.
What was it? Let me.
Don't get me wrong, Pedro. I do get what you mean, though, Pedro. And again, I'm not saying that, this excuses the issues. My point is, it does show that, again, they could have done something different for the sequels, Gears 4 and 5.
Oh, I get that.
DLC is showing.
Oh, no, I get that. I'm just talk. You know me. I just want to talk about the specific execution of this. No, I completely agree with what you're saying. I just want to give my piece on the execution of the whole thing. Like again, it feels like we have a scene missing. Like for example, you know what we could have had before the backstory thing of Mac thing? We could have had a scene where Mac. We could have a scene where Mac apologizes for that grenade that he threw against Keegan's orders. Something that actually where they actually reach. Okay. How about I'm sorry about what I did. Like I genuinely thought it was just the best thing we could have done, and then they could have come to terms with that, and then eventually, and then they start behaving better towards each other, and then eventually build up to that scene with the backstory and everything. I feel like we have something missing. This you can tell they had to rush this because, like you said, there's only so much the DLC would allow. That's why I would have loved to see this actually be the proper game rather than what we got in the main campaign.
Like you said, there seems to be some graduality, but it's still relatively rushed and it's confined to the banter. So again, if someone is not paying attention to that, that's potentially going to be a problem.
True. We technically did sort of have that apology from Mac, but that was more so in the banter, and
then again, it's still relatively rushed for what it wants to do. But let me instead talk about it. Speaking of the implementations, the thing that I was talking about 2 parts ago, actually, but I said what I want to talk about an idea. Oh, new enemy type.
Actually, note that type of locust has been a thing since Gears of War 4. Actually,
true, but it had something different about it, like protrusions. Like, is it like
the one in 4? No, the one in 4 also had protrusions too.
No, I don't mean the crystals. I mean, this one looks more like whatever. I must have missed me. I must have seen badly, but whatever.
These are terrifying.
Well, that's the whole point of what the locust should be scary. That's the whole horror element that I've talked to you about before.
Probably like it more.
They look like things that need to be put out of their misery, not monsters that are attacking. Like, kill us, please.
Okay, carry on.
You would have liked it more informed with Dej because they use more the body horror type of thing, in a sense that does natural take people and reconvert them into those things. And I get it. The protrusions are actually the grenades launched. Okay, they're stickies, but whatever. What I was mentioning is the thing about information that the player knows, but the characters in universe do not. And thus, when the reveal happens, the characters have to be surprised. But there has to be some sort of, thing that makes also the player enjoy the thing instead of saying, yes, I knew this was going to happen anyway. And what I mentioned is the Tales of franchise. Okay, technically speaking, it started probably with the first Destiny, but for all intents and purposes, it started with the first Symphonia. Starting essentially with that game, the Tales of franchise implemented a sort of a running gag that one of your party members is a traitor of some kind. I know, insert your Among Us joke here, but it's more of a...
I was gonna insert the prosody, Siggy.
But it's more of a thing of one of your party member works for either the bad guy or an evil organization, and it's basically his or her own agenda, and eventually the truth will have to come out, the said traitor will have to sort of, make up for it, the way things will be played out, and the franchise usually manages to make things work out pretty well on that front, and I honestly, on the games that I played, I don't think I've encountered a particularly bad example of that happening. I know that a lot of people didn't like apparently the first Zillia, but I do believe the execution of that in that game is perfectly fine. The series sort of treats it kind of like more of a joke, but it still works in the end, I think.
Shiroi, what are your thoughts on Mac's character progression? The Scottish guy, if you forgot who it is. Okay, Shira's sticking out. Oh, sorry, Shira, you cut out. Could you repeat? I guess not.
She's muted.
Dej, give you. Well, okay, Dwebs, go ahead. I guess. Sure.
I mean, considering he's been spending almost all of this game, that he's been on whining about stuff. it's a bit interesting they choose now to give him a backstory.
What about you, Tej? What do you think?
Well, I don't want to feel like an echo chamber right here, but yeah, it does feel like the character development was rushed.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, it's something, but it has to work within the confines of what the DLC allowed budget-wise. Like, for as much as, we like to romanticize stuff, making DLC can be very strenuous with how limited budget can be in this or that, especially given what a reduced skeleton crew they sometimes have as well. That being said, I do agree it still could have been done better. But at least it's something. And I'm not saying this in just the sense like, well, oh, it's something, therefore it's good. Like, I do legit think that it is good substance. It just needed better structure placed under it to support it.
In the meantime, I would like to voice Shiro's thoughts that she just texted to us, because right now she's BRB. Basically, she agrees with Whips.
What do you think?
Theo already mentioned.
What I think. Like, I understand where you're coming from. It could have been better, but I don't think it's that worse.
Oh no, compared to the main campaign, this is a huge improvement, like Jova said. It's just...
Well, I don't think in the main campaign there is a situation. Okay, true. Pause, I guess. But, well, it's not even a case of here where the characterization technically happens off screen, I guess. But, no, but I already voiced what I needed. Go on.
I was gonna say, mostly... this background kind of reminds me of Alien. Predator.
Huh, I thought you were going to say it reminds you of something like Crash Bandicoot or Uncharted.
No. Well, Uncharted, yeah, but I'm just like, you know what? Maybe that's who should be the villains for a new Gears game. Make them a parody of the Predators.
Well, here's the thing, Dej. That's the thing, that the original Gears of War trilogy was supposed to be a mashup of various best aspects of that. Like, it had the horror of Alien, it had the overall action jungle vibe of Predator. It had those old 80s, 70s influences. So yeah, that would actually be what I really want for Gear 6 is, can we bring back the horror element? Because I missed the time when the Gears of War actually made me feel genuinely unsettled, like in that shadow kill by the Berserker in Gears of War 1, which I showed to Deji, by the way. Like, I really wish we could bring that back. And again, bring back the Gears of War 3 art direction, because I think that's still the best art direction to have for this series personally.
Oh, yeah.
I think, like I said, I know I've said this before, but I do believe that compared to the original trilogy, these new games are a bit too colorful for their own good. Again, I get that they're clearly abandoning the art direction at this point, but the art direction, like I've said, is one of the big things that really separated Gears of War from the competition. So I really believe it should remain. It would be like... it's what separated Gears of War from the other cover-based shooters. It really should come back, in my opinion. But yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
It's basically our general opinions. For each of us seem to be either DLC is good so far, or a bit rushed, or fuck back.
I mean, not too different overall.
I get the feeling, again, I get the feeling, yeah, like this is one of those cases where you can tell these guys probably wanted to do something. I'm honestly wondering if they originally planned for something bigger in DLC, like with a couple more extra scenes, but they couldn't at some point because I guess they ran out of money or time.
Okay, here's my take. Okay, first off, when was this, when was the poll for DLC, first announced? Like, in
sadly, Joba, I still haven't found news about that. Like, I'm getting genuinely convinced more and more that it was just,
I think it was a
potential fake news.
Well, actually, no, I do remember when it was first announced. It was like mid-2020, if I remember correctly. Carry on, I'll look it up.
Okay, so mid-2020, that was... nearly a whole year after the DLC was
Like I
released.
said, Joe,
I do
it
wonder.
still took their sweet time because again, it was attached to the wave 5 of the DLC packages for the
Yeah.
multiplayer. So
I do get the feeling that this DLC was something like, a desperate last attempt to try and garner an audience for Gears 5 again, because it's no secret that Gears 5 is not the most popular Gears game on the block here.
well,
So
again,
I
Joe,
would
it
not
seems
be-
that general feedback seems to have said even for the multiplayer recently that things have genuinely improved, but I
Yes.
just don't know how much.
My point is like, well, they probably wanted a new DLC campaign to act as the main jumping on point, because yeah, sure, multiplayer is one thing, but what will attract a lot of players these days is a good single player campaign in the first place. Here and there, something that companies should not forget or try to deny.
Yeah, that's one of the primary issues, and one of the Xbox dudes that I do follow brought this up. Why not give Sea of Thieves a mini single player campaign to give players a way to get into the game on their own? Because remember, that game is multiplayer only. If you join a lobby with just yourself, you're not gonna have any fun, because that game is entirely made for so you and your friends can just have fun doing random things, So, but if they included some kind of mini, it doesn't even have to be necessarily something like super elaborate. Just make it like a 5-hour story campaign of sorts. It would serve as a good way for the single player to get into the game and understand how the game plays. And that again, it's basically what Halo and Gears of War do, which is have a single player campaign, and then the multiplayer can extend the game's lifetime.
It's this weird narrative that companies like EA tried to tout that, single player is dead, which is funny because EA themselves realized that single player ain't dead when Jedi Fallen Order actually
They got clowned as soon as that happened.
Yeah, and you know what? They deserved it because it was a stupid thing to go off on.
However, I need to elaborate. They said linear single-player games are dead. Not open. Unfortunately, all the other games people mentioned are open world.
Except that's a load of horse hockey. But...
I mean, it's still a stupid thing to say, but I just wish people use better examples. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
Oh yeah. Do not get me wrong. There are plenty of single-player games that have screwed the pooch and everything, but that is by no means.
No, Deji is just talking about the structure instead of just an open
linear stuff. Well, isn't Fallen Order a linear game in general anyway? I think it is. I haven't actually.
To be fair, Pedro, it was done after that statement, so you can guess they backtracked on that.
Well,
yeah.
That's the thing, plenty of... Well, whatever, carry on, Dej. Or Jova.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, EA are clowns for saying that, and I'm glad everyone called them out on that crap.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Which brings me back to the point of this. I do feel like, the reason that they reached out with a poll for what people would want is so that they could go, look, we're giving the fans what they want. And the idea to attract more people to the multiplayer was to give a good campaign overall. Which, technically, I would say mission accomplished in regards to giving us a good campaign. That said, I think the sad thing is because this is a DLC campaign, it doesn't get to do nearly as much as it could have done. And, I mean, honestly, it's kind of a monkey's paw. Congrats, you finally got some legit good stuff out of Gears 5, and yet it feels like it could have and maybe should have been its own game.
Not just that, Taylor, I got your answer. It was originally announced in October 23rd, 2020, and later released in mid-December.
Yeah, but the game was announced. We were wondering if the coalition and Microsoft had the actual poll that we mentioned.
Oh, the poll
prompted to
that I do not. Well, that I do not know.
Because the actual game release date and announcement, yes, those are pretty null.
Well,
okay, so where was the poll mentioned?
Probably, the poll was probably put up on the Gears of War official forums.
Do we know for certain that there was an actual poll?
That's what I mean, Jodrova. The more time is going on, the more I guess that it was like an article that fucked up.
Well, I don't know.
Well, okay, Pedro. Where did you first figure out about there being a poll?
Well, actually, I never figured it was Theo who brought up the poll, wasn't he?
Yeah, like I said, again, I did read an actual article. I forgot actually where that did mention about a poll, but after that, no other sources were indicated, which is why I want to stress out to not believe it.
Okay. So let's assume that this wasn't done based off of a poll then. Why do you think they chose the Hivebusters then?
Like I said, it's the current comic line, so the people that know it the most, they have a smaller roster to work with, and they just need to actually ask the writer of the comic to actually do the work for that.
I guess it does work out getting people interested in the comic. Yes, Pedro?
To carry on from a previous point in the previous part, Jova, remember, Jova, for as much as I would like this writer to replace him, Tom Bissell, as far as we know, is still the current main writer of the Gear series. So I'm not entirely confident.
Like I said, hopefully they'll take in mind the better feedback that this got. Because, if there's one thing I do know for certain, is that most of the reception the main campaign of 5 got was negative. So, the fact alone that this got superiorly major reception should hopefully maybe tweak some things, or at the very least have them take notes better.
No, when that's the thing, Jova, yes, negative in between the Gears of War fans that played it, because, like we've talked about, most people didn't even bother with this one.
Yeah. well, again, I mean, pretty much for the people who mattered, for, the little who did play it. I mean, the fact that this game didn't sell well initially should also be a big warning sign to Microsoft as well.
It's one of those cases where, again, like the fact that nobody, and the fact that, as Theo pointed out, the fact that the pedophilia implications from the main campaign didn't even get any kind of major article about the controversy, nobody even brought this up.
But again, Pedro,
I know the perfect writer we can get for Gears of War.
Hold on, let Theo finish. Go ahead, Theo.
Like I said, not even the people who actually talked about badly about the story of the game, and they talked about it again, which makes me wonder if there is something that we're just missing out on ourselves.
Well, okay. I will say this: if we are technically missing something, I think it's more the game stuff, because yes, I know that we do talk over stuff, but I think that with how much we were focused on that there would be some subtitles that would pop up that would at least explain stuff. And if there is, well then shame on the game for not having it be in, a more important scene, because again, stuff like that...
Still, Jova, again, the fact that not even the people who, hate this game with a passion talk about it makes me wonder, again, if it's something that we just misunderstood.
Well, let me add it.
Okay, the fact that not even the Wikia has turned something up to that degree, I think points more just to the idea that it's a case of not enough people really care enough, or, the fact that this game does not really warrant as much hatred as one would think, because not only is it bad, it feels so weak in comparison. And again, we can attribute most of the stuff to stupidity rather than malice with how it comes off. Oh, don't get me wrong, it comes off terribly, but it is really, I guess, the sort of thing where, that happened. And don't get me wrong, it's still terrible, but it's like at the same time you can't help but wonder, was it really that? Because the story itself doesn't draw on it well. It's just so sloppy.
Two things. One, to add to Jova's, I can tell you, as someone who played through the campaign twice, in fact, back to back, once for practice, one for actual recording, and I did those pretty much back to back. So I played through this thing twice, and I can tell that the banter doesn't really straighten anything out. Not really. Second, Theo, it's not like this is the only time something like this has happened. Look at, for example, when people give negative reviews, like for example, Theo, you'd think, look at Spoonie's review of Final Fantasy VIII, Theo. You'd think Spoonie would bring up how emotionally abusive Renoa is.
Okay, Pedro, it's a review done at the mid to end 2000, where reviews were done in a much less analytical way. So
okay, fine. Regardless, though, the fact that very few people, at least as far as I'm aware, by all means, Theo, point me to reviewers that don't point that out. Sometimes weird shit like this happens too.
Okay, I haven't seen it because I kind of stopped following. Have you seen Pro Jared's review of it?
Yes, yes,
Does he
I
mention
have.
that?
I have not.
Oh, well, okay. No, okay. I'll just answer this. No, he doesn't. Again, I can sort of explain this because from the research I've done, you can mainly attribute that to the dialogue coming off as bad because of a botched localization, which
Thanks,
is
Richard.
pretty much. Yeah, I mean, look, Final Fantasy VIII was clearly not.
No, I actually have a potential explanation for that, but we need to wait a couple of parts for me to tell.
Well, okay. That being said,
That being said, he does mention how bad the characters come off thanks to the dialogue, especially with Squall essentially becoming crawling in my skin or just the whatever guy.
But here's the thing.
He does mention it, but like I mentioned, our whole bit about Renoa coming off as emotionally abusive was admittedly something that we headcanon more so. Don't get me wrong, it is legit a problem that the story is that open to interpretation because of the bad dialogue that we could come to that conclusion. But it's not a conclusion that a lot of people came to, I guess, because of that particular tidbit that, oh, it's mainly a bad localization.
Again, let me just put it up real quick first. Well, okay, here's the thing too. Regardless of whether or not it's a localization problem, people should still bring it up because for a long time this was the only English way of playing the game. So you'd think people would bring this up more often. Second, that's the thing, Jova. Honestly, you talk about open to interpretation. I have no idea how the hell you're supposed to interpret Renoa literally turning to Squall and saying, "Come on, I'm not good enough for you," as anything other than the fact that she's literally making this entire thing about her and she's complete. Ugh, like I have no idea
what they're going with in that scene, and that she's trying to cheer him up. But again, the way the dialogue is uttered, you can come to the conclusion that she is trying to make it all about her. Again, I won't fault anyone for coming to that conclusion. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if anyone came to that conclusion because, look, we can pretty much sum up our critiques of Final Fantasy VIII as a good story, but told incredibly horribly.
And Shirai, you wanna vocally voice your thoughts on Max development since you didn't get to?
No, just what Dwip said.
Okay. I will say this. I'm still having a bit of trouble believing that all the problems are because of the localization. Because
trust me.
I mean, you don't enjoy the gameplay. That is nothing to do with the localization.
I'm talking about the story problems, though.
Oh, trust me. The story still has some base issues here and there. Do not get me wrong. My main thing is about the dialogue and how that can mix match stuff. Trust me, that is... Look, if the localization were the only issue, you just have people play, like, an English fan translation or something. Like, no. The base story still has its fair share of problems.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we should probably end before this becomes into our mini Final Fantasy VIII TED Talk.
See you, everybody.
See ya for the conclusion.
See ya for our next one.
See ya.